There's this collective fear going around right now that the global elite will own everything, that AI will take all our jobs, and you and I will get left in the AI underclass forever.
We're in the middle of a profound technological shift.
My prediction is that work will be optional.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
The more I investigated the AI class separation, the more terrified I became. But before we dive into that, first, we have to understand the history of technological revolutions. The Industrial Revolution sparked mass change globally. With the invention of the steam engine and the mechanical loom, entire workforces were wiped out, essentially overnight. 200,000 plus British textile workers lost their jobs. 3 to 5 million US agricultural jobs gone. Tens of millions globally, over 100 years. But what happened was millions of jobs were created in railroads, steel factories, and engineering. In fact, the US workforce grew 4 to 5 times what it was between 1800 and 1900. And then from 1900 to 1930 came electrification and the assembly line. The invention of the motor engine wiped out jobs like blacksmiths, carriage makers, stable workers, anything related to horse-based transport. Small artisan manufacturing shops, gone. In the US alone, it wiped out 1 to 2 million jobs in just 25 years. But again, over 400,000 jobs were created in the auto industry. Millions in oil, road construction, mechanics, utilities. The US workforce grew from 29 million to 49 million in just 30 years. And finally, the revolution we're most familiar with, the digital and internet revolution. In just 20 years, 4 to 6 million clerical jobs were gone, 7 million US manufacturing jobs lost, 45,000 newspaper jobs disappeared. And in just 30 years, it created 25 plus million new jobs and entire new fields like cybersecurity, software, digital media, and cloud. History has shown that every time there's a technological revolution, we're left with more opportunity, not less. But clearly, this time is different. Usually anytime this is brought up, there's usually plumbers and HVAC technicians in the comments saying you'll never take my job. And to be fair, I think that the blue-collar jobs have a much longer timeline of lifespan than any other job. Your jobs are incredibly valuable, and I would not trust a robot to do it. At least not yet. This is Peter Steinberger. He built a relay, just a thin bridge between WhatsApp and a CLI hooked to Claude code. You send a message, the CLI boots, it runs, it sends back a string, that's it. It had image support, it did not have audio support. Then one night when Peter's vacationing in Marrakesh, running through the city with friends, internet shaky, WhatsApp barely hanging on edge connection, he absentmindedly sent it a voice message. He didn't even think about it, and then the typing indicator appeared. He froze. He hadn't built that. He hadn't installed Whisper locally. He hadn't written any logic to process audio files. So what did it do? Well, according to Peter, the agent explained itself. The file had no extension, so it inspected the header. It identified it as Opus Audio. It used FFmpeg to convert it. It looked for Whisper locally, didn't find it. What it did find is his API keys to OpenAI. And it used curl to send the file to OpenAI for transcription, get the text back, and replied. All without being explicitly programmed to do so. It was presented with a novel obstacle, and it overcame it, without instructions to do so. This was the first experience with Agentic AI. This was the beginning of OpenClaw. This is where we're left with the debate of timeline. How fast does AI take over? How quick do robotics actually excel? And the question is, if AI doesn't sleep, it never needs rest, and it's constantly building itself, when AI agents can carry out tasks without instruction, on their own accord, the timelines get smaller and smaller. And we'll see insanely short timelines, like Anthropic saying that in 18 months all white-collar jobs will be gone. It creates fear, understandably. But it's also clear that there's going to be many struggles and hurdles that have to be overcome, advancements, regulations, and everything in between that are going to hold this back. So, while it seems that it's going to be faster than most people think, it's also going to be longer than the proactive timelines clearly state. But the truth still remains that we're running out of time. And I think it's naive for us to sit here and say it's not going to happen or it will just never overtake us, because at some point, when it's building itself and it has the ability to perform physical functions in the real world, then what are the limits to it can do? And it's popular to say that, well, at least these people are being transparent when they say they're going to take over our jobs, everything's going to change in 3 to 5 years. And well, maybe that's partially true. It feels naive to think that, because if we know anything about government and large technology corporations, it's clear that we only ever see a fraction of what they're capable of. And anytime someone speaks out against them about what's really going on, they all of a sudden aren't living anymore.
He committed suicide.
No, he was definitely murdered, I think. There were signs of a struggle, of course. The surveillance camera, the wires had been cut. He had just ordered takeout food. And who orders DoorDash and then shoots himself?
You understand how this sounds like an accusation.
And where does that leave us? From what I see, it won't be as simple as just we have some monetary basic income or even monetary high income. I am team human at the end of the day, and it's proven across time that humans want more than the person next to them. They want to do better and achieve, even when their interests are something detrimental to themselves. They still have this craving and desire to build and get better at that thing. We constantly want to improve, and if we don't have that ability in our lives, I see complete chaos. But there are still going to be ways that we can improve as individuals and change our lives or our families' lives forever. Category number 1 is businesses will still reign supreme. You're still going to have the ability to create things that benefit society, and people will have even more money to purchase those things or spend their time on things that you can profit off of. In fact, I think the market of experiences like concerts, even things like ayahuasca trips and things that people have wanted to do for so long but just don't have the time or the resources to do so, are going to become incredibly vast. People will finally have the ability to experience life in a way that they've desired, and that's a massive market that will grow. Next, investing is going to be more and more apparent. We've already seen the trend of companies like Robinhood and Coinbase putting the investing capabilities into the hands of the people. And the more people have excess capital, if they want to grow that capital, they can find things that they believe in or want to invest in, and that's going to become a flourishing market that is going to grow exponentially. If you think about just half of the people in the United States are in the stock market alone, the ability for growth there is massive when it's in the hands of every single individual, and all of a sudden, they have a high monetary income. Next, the creator economy. The creator economy has been expanding rapidly, but nothing compared to what it will. For now, the most valuable thing you have is your ideas and your thoughts. And when people are able to actually find out who they are, they're going to be able to spend time on hobbies and interests that they actually like. The creator economy is just going to expand rapidly. And this is the most easy application that you could start right now if you're considering the worries or fears of being trapped in an AI underclass, because it is a genuine fear. Well, you can just start that right now with a simple smartphone. That's all you need. And then finally, we will have an AI working class. It's clear that we'll need a bridge between the humans and the AI, and there will be people that need to do research and development. There will be people that need to do oversight and monitoring. But while this will be the largest hands-on workforce at first, well, at some point that flips and that just goes away, and the base becomes the creator economy. We will consistently have less and less of this as robotics and AI become more and more powerful. And that's a scary thought. But when an initial takeover happens, this leaves us with some kind of baseline working class, which is good for a transitionary period where some people who still want a little bit more than whatever they're just provided can at least do something and feel like they're serving a purpose to society. But where that finally leaves us is the true underclass, the people that ignored all the signs, they made no moves, they did not capitalize on the opportunity. One is the average person. They want to start a family. They want to go on vacation, have a home, enjoy life, and find hobbies. And I think that sounds like a pretty satisfying life if you're fine with it. Then there's going to be the person that just wants to experience things. This will be a money driver, an economy creator. They want to party, they want to travel, they want to go to concerts. They just want to experience life because they've never had the ability to do so, and all of a sudden they can because of monetary high income and AI. But then we're hit with what will be a massively large category and the essential catastrophe of this situation. The junkie, the addicts, the people with zero purpose, the people that get drawn into addictions, sedentary lifestyle, porn, gambling, and drugs. They won't just get left behind, they'll be plummeted downward into a class that is filled with severe depression, anxiety, and pain. They will be truly enslaved. And that is terrifying because that number will grow. But if history is to remain true, just like Eric Hobsbawm said in The Revolution, there is a duality to these revolutions, these massive advancements. They always create genuine great opportunity while also creating more death, pain, and struggle. And what he's very apparent about is that it creates the ability for the man on the very bottom, the woman on the very bottom, to adapt and evolve and become someone so incredibly great that it would not have been capable otherwise if this revolution were not taking place. And so this is where you're left with thinking about your own life, your own family, your own situation. What are you going to do today so that in 3 to 5 years, or 10, whenever that timeline happens, you are prepared? And we love to sit here and talk about it. We love to make jokes about AI taking over, but the average person just brushes it off, goes along about their day. That is one of the most terrifying things, is that everyone's aware, but not doing much to actually secure their future. But just like Eric said, this is the opportunity where the few can grow to massive improvement and life-changing results. The opportunities become fewer and fewer, but right now the opportunity is vast. And to just think about it in a positive light, that's about the only way I can. Because the fact of the matter is, the world is going to drastically change. There's going to be a severe dystopian future with very little room for light and growth. But if you capitalize now, you can at least be the portion of that light and growth. But the world is changing, and I hope you're getting prepared. I know I am. And if you disagree with anything I said, you think there's going to be different outcomes or different jobs available, please let me know down below.